Hello, everyone. We're here with 96 head man, Coach Matthew Bennett. How you doing, sir?
Man, I am blessed beyond measure.
Perfect.
Every day on this side of the grass is better than the alternative.
Perfect. Great answer. Great answer. Let's kind of go back to last week a little bit, Coach. The storm. How long was you guys out of power at your house and at the facility?
The facility and my house got power back on the same day, which I believe was Tuesday.
Okay.
We got power back in the facility while we were on the practice field. So they came in here. We had lights. Coach Wirtz, our AD, got us some battery powered lights set up, and we had a generator running the shower so the boys could get hot water showers, and
That's awesome.
we had all that stuff set up. But we were fortunate. We didn't practice Monday. Tuesday we were back, and while we were on the field, the lights come on here.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. 96 was hit pretty bad, man. I live in
Yeah,
Greenwood, and I was without power for 6 days. And then I came down here to 96, and we got power here before I got it in Greenwood.
yeah. I think
So,
we were out 5 days.
yeah,
Friday through Tuesday.
yeah. So that storm came through, left a lot of damage. You guys were supposed to host Pelion. Some kind of way the game got changed to at Pelion. How did that
Yeah.
process go, Coach?
Well, it was we're fortunate to have a couple really good ads, and head football coaches. Coach Holland's a real good head football coach. I'm just here, but we were Coach Holland is the AD and the head football coach at Pelion. Coach Wirtz and I, Coach Wirtz is the AD, and I'm the head football coach here. So we were kind of just in constant communication. Both teams wanted to play. Our kids wanted to play. Their kids wanted to play. Try to get a little sense of normalcy back. We were supposed to host here, but because the damage, and just like it was in
Yeah,
Greenwood, the damage was really bad here in 96. So the place in 96 with the most parking space is our facility. So
yeah,
we, the power companies, the linemen, they had asked if they could stage here, and there's still trucks out in our parking lot right now. Um,
mm,
so with we felt like the Pelion community they got hit too. They didn't take their school never lost power or anything like that. Was what Coach
mm.
Holland told. So they felt they were capable to host if they needed to, and we felt like on our end there was so much devastation in our community that we didn't want to take police officers off the road to be security. We didn't want to have to ask linemen to move their trucks so we could park people here on Friday night. So it was just easier for everybody. Believe it or not, on our side, it was easier for us to go on the road to Pelion. And it balanced our schedule out. This year we actually we had an extra home game where we had 6 home and 4 away due to ALA not having a stadium yet. So
Mm.
it worked out. They said they weren't going to host any region games. They got somewhere where they host non-region contests, but um, Coach Bacon and them decided they weren't going to host any region games this year. So this year is actually supposed to be our road game there. So we had an extra home game. So now with ALA coming here and us going to Pelion, it just balanced our schedule back out. But that was a decision made um, uh, in a lot of caution, with a lot of caution, and thinking about our community first, keeping them linemen in their trucks here, and giving us the ability to have more people here working to help get things back restored.
That was real cool. The ADs were being proactive instead of reactive, so it was real cool.
100%.
How did you how did you maneuver through practices, Coach? It was bad down here. Kids got to practice okay and everything. How'd you manage that?
We had so we didn't have a JV game scheduled for last week, so that worked out well. So that we told the JVs take the week off. Uh, we started them back practicing this week because they go to Batesburg as well. Um, and we looked at our varsity roster, and our varsity roster without we got a couple kids that one week they'll play JV. If we need them, they'll play varsity. Kind of they go back and forth. Mostly freshmen, but a couple 10th graders. But we looked at our varsity roster when we don't have those kids, and it's 26, and we were able to account for 23 of our players at practice. The 3 that weren't here, we were able to account for them and know where they were and know they were safe, which was the number one priority. So we had a couple kids that, their family went and stayed with family somewhere else that didn't get hit quite as hard because they didn't have power and things like that, So we really, I told Coach Holland, I said, we're going to practice Tuesday, and I'll see how many we got. If we got enough to play, we'll play. And, our kids did a great job of getting here. The community did a great job of coming in. And, we had some parents, Booster Club parents, and some coaches, myself, Coach Goodman, Coach Duncan, and a couple others went out and got food for them one day. We had some parents feed them one day. Our AD fed them one day after practice. So we knew they were coming to practice. They were getting a hot meal, and they had a chance to take a hot shower. I was telling them to take a shower before and after practice. I was like, if you ain't got hot water at home, man, hit it twice. You know what I mean? But it was a great, one of the coolest moments of my career, seeing the kids kind of rally together through the storm. It was very inspiring, and I told them every day I was just happy they were there, and then they came out and they had a good week of practice. I mean, we did 3 days worth of practice in 2 days, and then we did our normal Thursday walkthrough because I'm, children, high school kids, they're creatures of habit. I try not to change very much because they if you get them into good habits, it's a good thing. So I try to keep them as regular as we can. But they did a great job of checking on each other. And, I checked on kids whose number I had, and then we used the Remind app and was sending out messages, just checking on kids. My captains are great. I text the captains as soon as I got some service. I got all them in a group message, and I text them and asked them if they heard from everybody, and they said they checked on everybody and everybody was good. So it was, it was really a cool deal. It was enjoyable to see sports bring people together during such a trying time as it was for everybody in the upstate. Obviously at 35 years, I'm 35 years old, so I missed Hugo. I wasn't alive when Hugo came through, but I always heard people talk about it. And I guess I hope and pray and knock on wood and all that good stuff that this past storm was kind of this generation's Hugo. This is the storm that we talk about for the rest of our lives, and hope to never see one like it again.
Yes, sir. Well, great thing is we got through it, and it seemed like it brought 96 together, closer together as a community, as a team, as a family, and that's a good thing.
No question.
Okay, so you get through. We get to Pelion. All right, big game. You guys came out of there with a victory. I think it was 42-8, something like that.
I think
that. I'm sorry.
I think that was it. I think it was 42-8.
We leading at halftime. I think it was 28-8. How was the atmosphere down there, Pelion, Coach? It seemed like the game may have been a little bit chippy. Did the teams come in with a point to prove? Not just our side, but Pelion side as well. Just kind of curious, how was the atmosphere that night?
We had a good amount of fans. I thought, for having everything going on in the world like we did. I mean, we had a good visitor side. Okay. They had some people show up on the home side as well. I thought the atmosphere was as good as it could possibly be, given the hurricane and all. But the game itself, officials have a tough job, and I don't blame officials for anything. I do what we're supposed to do. If they make bad calls, I send them to Charlie, and Charlie, he does his deal. But I think sometimes there's a fine line that officials have to ride, and it's a tough deal because you got to hold it because they're in control of the game at the end of the day. So sometimes I think crews let things go on too long and a game becomes chippy. And sometimes I think crews are so overprotective of the game becoming chippy that it becomes a flag fest. And that's what They threw. I mean, some of those guys had to ice their shoulder down after the game. They were throwing them flags left and right. Pelion ran 10 plays inside their own 10-yard line because of on their scoring drive. We were sloppy. I mean, both teams were sloppy. As far as being a little bit undisciplined, and that's what one day of practice can do to you. Missing one day, it can have that kind of impact. But some of the they sent a kid off one play because his his knees weren't covered, and I looked at his knees and they were covered, and I was like, what are they looking at? Like so it was stuff like that, and it wasn't very chippy. I don't think there was a couple times that tempers flared, but I mean nobody threw a punch, nobody did anything dirty. I think just two teams playing hard and referees kind of overcompensating to make sure it didn't get that way. Okay. Which I would rather them do that than to let things get loose and you end up having a kid ejected or something like that. So I'd rather err on the side of caution as far as that goes. But they were ready to throw them Friday night.
Okay, that's understandable, Coach. Okay, now offense seemed like it was on the tear last Friday. You got a three-headed monster in the backfield. You got Hackett, you got King, and you got Joe Moore, right? That's his name, Joseph Moore. Moore. Young kid as well, right? Seems like he's coming along. Seems like he's coming along pretty quick, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about it, it's and I've told other coaches this. That aspect of our team, the kids in the backfield, it's almost an embarrassment of riches because Carver Davis can run as well. And he did a better job in the passing game Friday night. And then Caden Payne, he means so much to our defense. We try not to play him as much on offense, but he can tote the mail a little bit too. He didn't have too much Friday night. And then Michael Clements, you talk about a kid that plays his role as hard as anybody. He's an old school fullback, man. He gets in there and he mix it up. He gets you to short yardage stuff, or he can block and kick out on the power. And we've got some good backs. I'm our wings and quarterbacks and running backs, and then you got the young quarterback Jacob Evans comes in. He completes his first varsity pass Friday night. So our quarterbacks and running backs, they do a good job. And Joe mentioned it. He was the first freshman to be in the external player of the week in years, is what the writer told me. And Joe said Joe did the right thing. He did what you're supposed to do. He talked about his offensive line. And he talked about his older teammates who he gets to kind of go off of, because if you're a young running back, Zay King and Gabe Hackett and those guys, that's a great group to be in, because you can learn a lot of how to do things the right way, and that's what you like to see. Joe's a different bird. I told he's not your average freshman. I told the guys at the index he's the best freshman I've ever coached, and I don't think there's too much debate there. But he still had to, as any young cat does, he's had to grow up a little bit and learn. It's a little bit more, their high school, the varsity offense is a little bit more intricate than the middle school offense, and you ain't got to be a superhero. Our guys are going to block for you, and you got to do your job, and he'll do it. My favorite thing about Joe is my favorite thing about Zay. It's not what he does with the ball. I like what he does without it. He's a great faker. He blocks well. But I forgot to mention Carter Patterson. Carter Patterson's another one. He hadn't played in a couple of years. He's back out with us as a junior. He's done well. Those freshmen and guys that hadn't played for us yet, they're kind of in the same boat of getting adjusted to the speed. And Friday night, both of those guys found the end zone. And my favorite moment from the whole game Friday night is Carter Patterson scores his first varsity touchdown, and Zay King and Carver Davis go bananas. They're on the field. had to get on them a little bit because they didn't carry out their fakes as good as they should have. But that's because they were watching Carter and they knew he was going to get in the box. If he made one guy miss, he makes the kid miss and he scores. And they both go crazy. And I'm like, man, that's what it's about. That's being a great teammate. And it was the same way when Joe scored. Everybody was excited to see the freshman get his first touchdown. So it was a good moment for us as a team Friday night.
Awesome. Coach, when did you know Joe was ready for varsity Friday Night Lights? Because I'm sure the JV coach is like, yo, I need him in my backfield. I can only imagine. I coach JV basketball, so I can only imagine. You get them freshmen in there, you think you got him until the head coach varsity say, nah, I need him. At what point did you know Joe need to be playing on Friday nights?
The first day of freshman spring practice. The first drill he went through. I mean, I watched him last year at the middle school. I went and watched the middle school scrimmage, and then I got to watch a couple games throughout the year, and or at least parts of a couple games. And I had a feeling that he was going to be, if he was playing JV, he's so ahead of the curve. If anything, I thought it would slow him down, and I'm usually not like that. I like for guys to play JV and get a ton of reps, but it was pretty evident very early on. And Coach Booker, our JV head coach, he's great, and I told him first day of spring practice with the freshmen, you're not going to have Joe, and he's like, oh yeah.
I can imagine that conversation. I can only imagine that conversation. All right. So you get the big win at Pelion, right? Up this week, we got Batesburg.
Number one team. They just got bumped to number one.
I got to ask you this, Coach. I mean, just kind of another direction. Who did 96 make mad, man? Because you come out of a region with Abbeville, okay? That's tough enough. Then you come into a region, you got Saluda and Strong Thurman, and these guys back-to-back, and Batesburg.
Yeah.
Those are three juggernauts. What did 96 do to get put in that situation?
Well, last year, I ended up being right on this thing because when I saw the realignment, when I saw who was going to be in 2A,
yeah.
And every coach in the state was doing it. We're calling everybody. We're getting numbers. We're trying to do it on our own. And we actually had this. We had 2A pegged. Coach Long and myself and Coach Lemons and all us. We were working on that. We like the movie A Beautiful Mind. We got stuff all over the board, and we actually had. I got a picture of it on my phone. I'll show it to you next time. It's before the realignments come out, but we've got 2A pegged down to, I think we had two teams flipped that were in the wrong regions.
Wow.
But I said, if geography matters, and they say that it does, this is what's going to happen. The outlier was always Clinton, because Clinton come down, Clinton and Chester both come down, and they were, because, I coached at Clinton. We were in that region with Chester, so I knew Clinton and Chester both coming down. It was all about whether they were going to keep them together or split them up, or if they were going to do football only for some regions, which is what they ended up doing, which is what I kind of thought would happen. So Clinton got kicked up because where Clinton sits geographically off 26, they can get about anywhere in an hour. But there's nobody really close to them. I mean, I used to say that all the time when I worked there, there's all these bag men running around recruiting high school kids to go to different high schools. We never had to worry about that at Clinton because the only two schools that were close to you were Lawrence and Newberry, and Newberry was too far, and you can't go from Clinton to Lawrence because then your grandma won't talk to you anymore. That'd be like somebody here. It'd be like a 96 kid going to Ware Shoals. I mean, you're gonna have a hard time, or going to Abbeville. You're gonna have a hard time coming. You're gonna have a hard time coming back at Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? So. Geography, they were kind of an oddball by themselves, and I thought to make the numbers work, they'd have to kick them up to replace us in Abbeville coming out of that Chesney, Landrum, Liberty region, which is exactly what happened.
That's still a gauntlet, Coach Golly.
It's tough. Ain't no doubt. But the good thing is, and I tell our kids this all the time. I mean, right now we're 1-0 in the region. Everything we want is still in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And like, no matter what, like we were the first team in the state to clinch a playoff berth, assuming that they didn't change the playoffs. I mean, right now we've won a region game. We're in. Every week we're trying to improve our standing in the playoffs. So everything we want's in front of us, but it's not going to be easy. But that's the reason you play that tough non-region schedule, is to get you ready for this tough region. And if you play a tough non-region schedule, you play in the best region in 2A. When you get to the playoffs, no matter where you're at, teams that come out of our league should have a feeling like we can go out and win this game, and you should have it every week. So it's a challenge that we knew was coming, and we're just trying to get better every week and focus more on ourselves. I say it all the time: nameless, faceless opponent. I don't care who we're playing. We got to do things the right way and execute at a high level, because you can't. Tommy Spangler worked with us when he got let go from PC. He worked with us for a year at Clinton, and Tommy Spangler had been coaching college ball for 35 years. I mean, he's a legend around here. And Tommy used to always say, "It takes what it takes. You can't cheat this game. It takes what it takes." So I don't care if we're playing Batesburg or Pelion or ALA or Saluda or Thurman or the Dallas Cowboys. The game takes what it takes. You got to execute at a high level. You got to be fundamentally sound. And if you do those things, you give yourself a chance. So that's what we preach all the time, and just staying focused. You got to be focused. You got to play each play like it's got a life of its own.
Got you. That makes sense. What have you seen on film with Batesburg, Coach?
Man, they're good. I mean, we had their Abbeville tape because they played Abbeville before we did. So we already had that, and then we traded with them and watching them. I think, and this, I mean, basketball is the same. If you play a team that's very, very simple, it's because they can be, because they have a talent level that they don't have to get. And Coach Lawson's a great offensive mind. They do some good things offensively, but as far as like, if you watch us play, we might line up in 20 different formations in a half. Well, they're not going to do that. They're going to line up in 2 or 3 formations, and they're going to run a few plays, and they're going to be very, very good at it. We try to run a few plays out of a ton of different formations. They run a few plays out of a few formations, and just they figure out what the defense is going to give them. He does a great job of taking what the defense gives him as a play caller, and he is a great play caller. And offensively, they're very good, very good. Their running back, number 22, is a heck of a player. Number 2 is kind of their utility guy. They'll put him in the backfield. They'll put him at receiver. They'll line him up at H-back every once in a while, and he's not an H-back looking kid. I mean, he's an athlete. He can run. And their offensive line is very good. Their quarterback's good. They're a good offensive football team. And defensively, they're good too, but their offense is what makes them go.
Okay. All right. So, on a side note, have you ever been to Sheely's?
I'm going Thursday before the JV game. I'm actually.
I had to put that there, man.
The kids don't know it yet, but they're gonna know today. We're backing our Thursday practice time up an hour to make sure I can get there. That, and we get them out a little bit earlier too. But because it's you can't go there and not go to Sheely's. When you go to Sheely's, what do you get?
Everything. I had to ask, to be honest with you, because my first time I ever went to Sheely's, I was coaching over at 96 at the middle school basketball. And Coach Floyd said, we're going down to Sheely's. I'm like, what is Sheely's, right?
Yeah.
And you go in a place, man, and it's like Batesburg best export is Sheely's, man. Everybody that go to Batesburg got to stop by Sheely's, man. So I had to ask you. So you all going to Sheely's?
Rice and gravy and fatback, man. Can't beat it. Hey, I'll tell you right now, maybe the maddest. This is a funny, like, inside baseball story. So Coach Fountain at Clinton, probably the maddest I ever got at him in 4 years of me working for him. We played Batesburg week 0 in 22. And we were pretty good. It's Coach Lawson's first year. He was, he was in the beginning process of getting that thing turned around. We do a JV scrimmage week 0 because JVs can't play week 0, but you can do a scrimmage. So we go down to Batesburg and scrimmage them on Thursday night. They come to us on Friday night for the varsity game. Well, we walk through on Thursday, man, we are done in plenty of time. I mean, we had football class. We had them all fourth block. They left at 3:15, whatever time the bell rang. So I've told Corey all week about, look, we're getting in the car. We'll go to Sheely's, and then we'll go to the JV scrimmage. Man, Coach Fountain, I can't remember what it was, but something kept us at that school longer than we were supposed to be. And we went to Batesburg, South Carolina, and ate at a Burger King before the JV scrimmage. I was so mad. I mean, it was a tough one. As a fat guy, that was a tough loss to take there. You eat at a Burger King when Sheely's is right down the road because we'd messed around at the school for so long. I was mad.
Hey, Coach, I feel you on that for real. All right, I want to ask you about one of the players, Coach, one of the younger players. I think it's Caden Conway. He played JV last year. He was kind of Mr. to me touchdown. Every time I saw him run the ball, he almost scored a touchdown. How's his progression this year?
Well, he's made some plays for us, particularly he's a natural kick returner. I mean, he's as good at that. He's as good at that as anybody. He returns kicks for us, plays receiver and DB for us. He's come a long way. Now, Friday night the speed of it's a little bit different. On JV, he could pretty much put his foot in the ground, go right or left, get to the sidelines, and turn and go straight on most teams we play. Friday night, there's a lot more kids that can run out there on defense. So, but Conway's a heck of a player. I love him to death. He's definitely, as a staff, he's one of our favorites. He's hilarious. He's fun to be around. But he's improved a lot. I think he's going to have a progressively bigger role as his career goes, because eventually he's going to get behind somebody, and once he gets behind you, it's over if we get it to him. Against Abbeville, we had him behind their defense twice, and we just couldn't connect. I mean, we ran a trick play against Abbeville that he was so open he could have run backward and scored, but we didn't get it to him. So, but he's a good football player and a great kid, golly, and a good track and field athlete. Fun to be around. Strong. God, he's strong to be as little as he is.
He's little. Yeah, he gained some weight. He's little, right? But he's real quick, it seemed like, Coach.
Yeah, he's put on probably 10 pounds, and 10 pounds to him is a lot. I'm about to sneeze. 10 pounds to him is a lot. 10 pounds to me, that's just like 2 push-ups. But, gotcha. He's put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle, and he needs to do that again.
Okay.
But we call him water bug. When you go fishing, them little bugs on top of the water, they go back and forth really fast. That's what I think Coach Lemons coined him with that, and he thought it was an insult for like a month. And then we were like, Caden, do you know what we're talking about? And he was like, no. And we was like, you ever been fishing? He said, yeah. And he was like, oh, the bugs on top of the water? I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, Coach, he said, that's cool. Hey, that's cool. I was like,
that's funny.
He's been sitting out here for a month, mad, because he thinks we talking bad about him. We talking about how fast he is and how he makes cuts really quick. And, kids don't know anything, man. Kids don't pay attention.
Take everything too personally, it seems like these days, for whatever
That's
reason.
the thing. It didn't bother him too much because he never said anything. And then finally,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we were like, do you not understand what we're saying? And, I love Conway, man. KC, he's a great one.
All right, so Batesburg Friday night. Give us what to look for, Coach.
Well, we're going to throw some different things at them defensively, so that you'll see some things. If you've watched us the rest of the year, you'll see some things that are kind of unconventional defensively, or at least it's a different defense than we run. So we got a couple different things to throw at them defensively. Offensively, I think it's the same game plan as you take into any game. If you do what we do, that's we need the ball, and we need to have long drives, sustained drives.
Yeah.
And every drive needs to end in a kick, whether it's sometimes that is a punt. I hope it's not, but it needs to be an extra point field goal.
Yes.
And Grady Weidman's come a long way, special teams wise. He's a weapon for us. He can kick field goals. They kick field goals too at Batesburg. They got a good field goal kicker, so we got to keep it in front of us. We got to make them drive the field, not give up the big play, and we got to matriculate the ball down the field and we got to be able to live with a 3 or 4 yard gain. It ain't got to be 40 every time.
There you go. All right, quick, Coach. Thank you for all the time you gave me thus far today. JV, did you say they're playing at Batesburg as well? Or they hosting?
Yes. So they're playing. So we played Batesburg twice on JV. And originally we were going to go to them because we had a week we didn't have a JV game, and they had a week they didn't have one. So Coach Lawson got me, and we scheduled another JV game. Well, then Batesburg had some work done at their stadium, and it wasn't ready by the time we were supposed to play them on JV. So Coach Lawson says, "There, well, we could flip this, and y'all just come to us back-to-back nights during the region." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine with me, as long as the big thing was we were able to get the JVs an extra game." So. That worked out good. So that's why it's home. That's why both of the games are at Batesburg, because we've already hosted Batesburg in JV early in the year.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. In closing, Coach, give me a practice player of the week.
Every week I have to go back and look at my notes.
Let me ask you this, because I saw something somewhere. Was it Carter Patterson?
It was Carter Patterson.
Yeah, I kind of did some digging, and I wanted to make sure if I put it out there, but yeah, it was Carter Patterson, practice player of the week, correct?
That is it.
Perfect,
Carter
man.
Patterson.
Coach, thank you so much for the time, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
We'll see you next time, next week. Good luck Friday night, man. Do what you do. And I will tell you this, brother. I will tell you this. Alabama went to Vanderbilt.
That's right.
Okay, baby. I'll talk to you later, man. Appreciate you.
Talk to you later.
All right.